All right. Good to be here with all of you. All of that gobbledygook that I was just playing was some diminished sounds and a sound that I have been experimenting with for a very long time. That's basically the general topic for discussion today. And I've been trying to experiment with how I can be as free as possible with everything that I'm playing. And the general principle that I kind of try to live by is that if you really check out all of the possible mathematical variations that you can come up with, that's actually going to serve your creativity better than it would be sitting in a practice room, kind of trying to get to all those shapes somehow in some organic way. I will say that part of the desire to experiment and be creative is extremely important. But when it comes down to it, if you're able to slowly practice all of the permutations of a pattern and come up with a concept of different shapes, that's actually going to give your brain and your mind all of the options to use when it comes down to you being in the moment. So we get to this place where there's kind of a dichotomy. There's the practice on one hand of all of the patterns and shapes and permutations of things that we can come up with. And then there's the playing. And I will say for everyone out there that if we do too much practice, playing is going to feel kind of stiff and rigid. And then if we do too much playing, sometimes, we can get to a place where we get tired of our vocabulary and that becomes almost not as effective. So, we really need to try to find our own individual balance of practice and performing. As far as a teaching role goes for me, for everyone here, I can't really talk to you too much about the playing part because that's on you. The only thing that I can really help everyone here with is the practice part. So that's kind of where I come from with trying to provide everyone as much information as I can possibly give you, because that's going to get you to a point where you're going to be feeling as free as possible. Okay. So that's really the general principle here with all of this stuff. So let's delve right in to something that I discussed last time, which was this idea of triad sequencing. So first, let's start off with triad pair sequencing. That's a PDF that I dealt with last time. In this case, I'm going to be playing this on the key of the tenor, and it's written in the same key that I'm going to be playing it in. So in this case, it says triad sequencing. This triad sequence yields 7 additional scale sequences by displacing 1/8 note at a time, and you play it in all 12 keys for major, melodic minor, harmonic minor, and harmonic major. Okay, so that's a lot of information there that some of you might not understand what I'm talking about. Let me break down what's on the page here for everyone. Right off the bat, the triad pair that I'm using here for this whole PDF here of the triad sequencing is a G minor triad and an F major triad. Okay. So now the question is, why did I choose a G minor triad and an F major triad? Why did I do that? Well, it's very simple. I think everyone here should be at a fairly advanced level to know that the extensions of a G minor chord are going to be an F major triad. So essentially, if you play a G minor triad and an F major triad stacked, G, B flat, D, F, A, C, that's basically another way of looking at a G minor 11 chord, right? So if you really think about it, a G minor 11 chord, I'm just reiterating, is a G minor triad and an F major triad. That's one way of looking at a G minor chord. Of course, there are unlimited ways of looking at it. But actually, if we take a step back just from this information now, that's actually also a really important key to being able to crack the code of how to develop things in your own playing, because it's really not so much just the notes, it's how you choose to look at it and how you choose to hear it. So, you know, you could find a pentatonic scale for this, all sorts of stuff that everyone knows. And you'll be able to kind of come up with your own way of approaching all of this stuff. Okay, so G minor 11 chord again is a G minor triad and F major triad. So now, because we have that, the next way that I arrived at these triad sequencing or triad pairs and playing this stuff is because what triad pairs end up doing is they actually give you motion within a sound. So the motion within a sound helps you to not just feel like you're playing the same thing over again, right? So one very quick way, and we'll get to this. This is one of my new PDFs of playing triad pairs, is to just go up each triad up the scale, right? So we're able to create a scale with the triad pairs. It's a 6-note scale, also called a hexatonic scale. We're able to play all the inversions of each triad if we go up the notes of the scale. So in this case, the G minor triad and F major triad are going to create a scale too, and that scale is going to be G, A, B flat, C, D, F. And that's very close to a major scale. It's a 6-note scale. It's one note shy of a major scale. The E isn't in there because the E doesn't belong to either a G minor triad or an F major triad. So now that we have that scale there, what we can do is off of every single step of the scale, you can play a triad in one of the inversions. And that's the genius of a triad a pair scale or a hexatonic scale, because not only are you playing linearly, you're also playing or horizontally, you're also playing vertically, right? So right, everyone can hear that. And now what happens, because you have all of, and what I just did is I just played every inversion alternating, going up the scale, or you also have the scale. And that's the hexatonic scale going horizontally, right? Yeah, and making a line out of it. So once you have both of those ways under your fingers with any triad pair, which is what we're going to get to, now you have a system of notes that you can start to create scale patterns out of it. So what triad sequencing really is dealing with is basically a fancy name for just scale patterns using the triad pairs. So everyone, or most of you probably have heard of the regular scale pattern. If I just go back to, let's say just an F major scale now, right? And I play, I mean, there's probably a million classical technique books that have that scale pattern in them, right? So what I basically did is took that scale pattern, that basic scale pattern, and applied it to the triad pair. And that's how I came up with this one. And the reason that I chose this one, in addition to that, is because this, if you see right off the bat in number one, it has a horizontal or linear shape, and it also has a vertical shape, meaning that in each measure, we get a scale that's going horizontally, and then we also get one of the triads. And that's why this shape is so valuable, in my opinion, because we're getting a sound that not only dictates going, from a scalular perspective, but also going from an up and down perspective. So the first shape here, number one, is basically sounds like this. Okay, so